Erion, written by Rainy Ye and narrated by Rainy Ye in 2023. Erion's father was an Albanian human trafficker. Despite his origins, Erion surpassed his father's pursuits, amassing significant wealth and power. He led an underground Ewin trafficking ring named the Shadow Syndicate, operating from a secluded farm in the Surrey Hills. Despite living a life of luxury among the super-rich in London's elite, Erion found himself as an outcast. Ordinary Ewins thrived on human blood and souls alone, which prolonged their existence in mortal shells. Erion possessed a dark hunger. He yearned for more, desiring the very essence of his fellow Ewins' souls, especially those filled with shadow souls. He trafficked Ewins, drank their blood, and collected shadow souls, and as a consequence also murdered them. Only the closest brothers in his syndicate knew. If his father discovered what he'd become, he'd be mortified. Such a sinister hunger set shadow eaters apart from the vampiric Ewin kin. The concept of consuming the souls of their own kind violated the natural order that governed their existence. Before indulging in the blood and souls of other Ewins, shadow addicts had to possess distinct characteristics. They had to inject themselves willingly with a genetically modified virus. This altered their blood cells' surface proteins so their immune system would not react. Tasting even a drop of Ewin blood would have caused Erion to experience severe dizziness and violent illness for weeks, but not since he was changed. Erion didn't suffer from such limitations. He'd genetically modified himself 3 human years ago. Disgusted, all his beloved symbionts had left him. He didn't even crave human blood anymore. He only craved the souls of his kin every full moon. Luckily for him, he could afford them. Disposing of their lifeless bodies posed no obstacle whatsoever. They simply burned and turned to ash. Importing Ewins as livestock proved to be an effortless task as well. The Snake Triad, operating in East Asia, employed shadow catchers who stunned the Ewins before the 3 sisters of the Triad brainwashed them to do their bidding. Invisibility and flight enabled Ewin victims to embark on voluntary journeys, soaring covertly towards the traffickers of the shadow souls. But what was so special about eating shadow souls? Shadow eaters wielded powers that blurred the lines between myth and reality. Upon infusing the essence of wicked souls into Ewin's blood and from drinking the other Ewin's blood, shadow eaters could travel the etherweb while in slumber. Shadow eaters were no longer restricted to Earth, where the portals to Vagan were locked. They didn't even need portals. Their dreams were their vessels. Erion's loyal mobsters acted as intermediaries, delivering the mesmerized Ewins to their destined clients. These clients, eager to indulge in the forbidden elixir, would grant them access to unimaginable lucid dreams, would drink deep from the veins of captive Ewins. But in the new year of 2000, everything changed. First, the portals between Earth and Vagan briefly opened, then closed, then opened again, before being burned and reversed. Erion's father, desperate to return to Vagan, entered the portal before it was burned. That portal had been in the New Bodleian Library, hidden amidst towering book stacks. Its activation triggered a cascading effect, resurrecting ancient portals scattered across the globe. Yet, unlike the direction of the portal's original magnetic force, these reawakened gateways operated in reverse, granting passage exclusively to humanity. Humans didn't understand. Portals had the power to forcibly extract humans who ventured too close. Driven by an intense longing for a better life, mass migrations through those passageways became prevalent in impoverished countries. Police and the military had to cordon off those areas. On the news, Kim Jong-il, the chairman of North Korea, sent a nuke through one portal. As a consequence, the entire country, along with South Korea, was sucked through. The Ewins, their symbionts, and the underworld of shadow eaters speculated that the lost humans must have materialized in the world of Ewins, planet Vagan. Shortly afterwards, an unknown threat emerged. An invisible nemesis wreaked havoc amongst the Ewings and Shadow Eaters alike. The thing was merciless. It dealt death with deadly plasma that left no trace of their presence. Whether human or Ewin or another metaphysical being, the entity didn't bother to perform rituals to return mortal souls to the soul cycle. It would destroy Ewins and happily dispose of their collected souls too. Ewins, Shadow Eaters, and symbionts, renowned for their heightened senses and extraordinary abilities, found themselves powerless. They could not detect the enemy. Panic rippled through their ranks as the number of fallen brethren steadily rose, leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. As the death toll mounted, the Ewin community plunged into turmoil. Whispers of paranoia filled their once vibrant gatherings. Alliances fractured under the weight of suspicion. The Shadow Eaters, already a marginalised group because of their taboo practices, were hit the hardest. Their numbers dwindled at an alarming rate. Erion wondered whether the reason was that the souls they'd surmounted were the densest in shadows. The surviving Ewins, Shadow Eaters, and symbionts scored ancient texts and consulted with mystics, hoping to unveil the identity of their invisible foe. Whether the Ewins and Shadow Eaters could prevail against this hidden adversary remained uncertain, but one thing was obvious: the battle for their survival had only just begun. For ages to come, the supernatural realm would continue to resonate with the echoes of their eternal struggle. The end.